90 years ago, the Virginia Farm Bureau made our local farmers a promise to protect and preserve a way of life they work so hard to establish. Today, our insurance agents work to protect all Virginians, not just farmers. We want to keep Virginia, Virginia. More information is at farmbureauadvantage.com.
The remarkable soybean. From its oil, we get products like ink, candles, and paint. From its meal, we get a high-protein fiber used in foods and animal feeds. Natural soy is replacing chemicals and products you use every day. You can learn more about soybeans at vasoybean.com.
The Blandy Experimental Farm in Boyce, Virginia is a beautiful place. It's also the location of our State Arboretum. This week we visit the farm to learn what's going on at our State Arboretum. We also have a story on managing better health in our cattle herds. Plus, we'll have some tips on cleaning up the fall vegetable garden. Oh yeah, it's that time of the year. Those stories and more on this episode of Virginia Farming. I'm Jeff Ishii. Virginia farmers have had a challenging harvest season in 2018. The impact of two hurricanes, one in September and another in October, had an impact on crop producers in southeastern Virginia, especially on peanut and cotton growers. We hope to have an update soon on the condition of those two crops. Elsewhere around Virginia, corn for grain harvest is nearly complete, which is well ahead of the 5-year average. Farmers are, however, reporting a few problems with corn due to too much moisture during the growing season. Mold, mycotoxins, and ear rot have all been reported. Virginia beef cattle producers know that producing a premium beef product starts with a healthy cow and calf. Bob Cervera has the story from the American Angus Association.
Cattle health affects their everyday performance, but producers must find a balance in the need for vaccine efficacy and safety when deciding the main risk to well-being on their operation.
For producers that are worried about BVD and IBR and other viruses, if there's a risk that those viruses can enter their cattle operation, they probably need to limit that risk by focusing on efficacy and having a product, a vaccine product, that is proven to be highly effective at stopping the virus.
Decisions made for safety especially pertain to risk for maintaining pregnancies in the herd.
For those producers that are doing a great job with biosecurity and testing incoming animals and controlling the movement of people, animals, and wildlife on their farm, there may be more of a move to the safety side of things where they don't need to have the most efficacious product because they're doing a great job with controlling things, and they want to really have something that's highly safe.
The level of risk within an operation should first be assessed before choosing an approach.
Well, there's several tools available. One, the Kansas State University Beef Cattle Institute has a risk assessment tool that producers can use online. It's a series of questions that they have to answer, and they can kind of get an idea of what their risk is for having these viruses being introduced on their farms. And that really helps. The other thing that really helps is just to take a step back and think about some of the things that they do. One of the riskiest behaviors as it relates to having BVD virus come onto a farm is purchasing pregnant replacement females.
Recent research supports annual vaccinations of spring calving cows in the fall if they started as heifers with 2 pre-breeding rounds of a modified live virus and depending on products used.
So one question that we often get is whether we can rely on vaccination at pregnancy check to forego the vaccination that might be done in a pre-breeding situation in the spring on those cows. In this recent study, I think we now have a piece of data that would suggest that it is possible, and it could be an economically viable option for those producers that just simply cannot get those cows up and vaccinate them in the spring in a pre-breeding situation.
Weighing the risk and rewards, producers can work with their veterinarian to formulate a quality health management plan to match their quality beef goals. I'm Bob Cervera.
Thank you, Bob, for that report. Numerous wine grape growers in Virginia are counting their losses as we wrap up another growing season. Vineyard managers across the state say the problems began with a cool spring and continued with seemingly endless rainfall that lasted most all summer long. One grower we talked with in Madison County said he lost at least half of his red grapes and also half of his white grapes. He did say, however, that there are plenty of good wines available from Virginia wineries. Some varieties of grapes performed better than others during a very wet growing season. Well, Virginia farmers are still reviewing the details of the new United States-Mexico-Canada trade agreement, known more commonly as USMCA. Officials with our state's largest farm organization, Virginia Farm Bureau Federation, say U.S. dairy producers should have greater access to the Canadian market, while the livestock feed and pet food industries, they should have better access to both Canada and Mexico. Many provisions of the agreement will not take effect until 2020. Turkey production in Virginia is expected to be up this year by about 1% when compared to the previous year. The USDA recently conducted a survey of turkey producers and found that Virginia is expected to finish up this year having raised 17 million birds. That's up by about 200,000 from 2017. Most of the commercial turkey industry in Virginia is confined to the Shenandoah Valley area, where processing plants are located in the towns of Hinton and Dayton. Well, this week Amy visits the State Arboretum at Blandy Farm, a truly beautiful place. That's our focus on Ag Insights, coming up next.
Today we're in Boyce, Virginia, and we're visiting the State Arboretum. It's a little bit more than a state arboretum. It's also the Blandy Experimental Farm. I'm joined by Ty Ralston. He's the curator for the State Arboretum. Ty, thank you so much for having us here.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to have you here, especially on a great day like this.
It is gorgeous. So, what is Blandy Experimental Farm?
So it's kind of a loaded question. So I can start with saying what it is not, which is it's not an experimental farm. So Blandy Experimental Farm is a research center and an education center, environmental education center. And it's a 1 square mile property which has the State Arboretum of Virginia right in the middle. And the Blandy has kind of a tripartite mission. It has both it's research, so college level academic research, and education, K through 12, and then public education and outreach.
Okay. And Blandy is through the University of Virginia, correct?
Right. So the property is owned and run by the University of Virginia.
Okay. Well, before we get too much into what happens with the Blandy section, I want to talk a little bit about the State Arboretum. Can you give us some history on it?
Yeah, so the State Arboretum was initiated by, the Blandy Experimental Farm became University of Virginia property in 1926 as a bequest from Graham Blandy. And the first director of Blandy Experimental Farm was Orland White. And when he arrived here, he started the Arboretum as a research planting. So he planted many plants out across in an Arboretum shape, in a big square, to study heredity and plant relationships. And it was not a public Arboretum at that time, it was just a research planting. And so he planted many thousands of trees, and they were all small when he was here, and they were just research planting, and he had graduate students coming up from the University of Virginia. And over time, it's sort of developed into this wonderful Arboretum that we have now, and it's become a public place and a very popular destination.
Well, it's absolutely beautiful, and it sits right off of Route 17 here in Boyce, which is near Paris and kind of tucked away a little bit. But it's a perfect environment for what you guys do.
Yeah, we're nestled between three kind of biggish towns, so Winchester and Front Royal, and then the small town of Berryville. We're nestled there, so we can draw from our immediate surroundings. We're also not too far from Harrisonburg and from the Washington D.C. area, and so it becomes more and more valuable green space as more of the outlying areas get developed, and we become more and more popular every year.
What can visitors expect to see and experience when they come here?
So the Arboretum itself is always something to take a look at and wander around. So in the spring when the trees are all coming in flower, that's a spectacular thing to see. In the fall right now, as the foliage is turning, it becomes a really pretty place to see all the great colors. And then the summer, the gardens and the fields are all in bloom. So those aspects of the Arboretum are always available, and people are always walking around and looking at those kinds of features of the Arboretum, going through our trails and reading the interpretive signs.
And it's free and open to the public, correct?
Correct. So it's the only time there's ever an entrance fee is just for our big plant sales, but we are open dawn to dusk, free to the public the whole year.
Wow. Well, it really is gorgeous here.
Yes. Yeah, it's a wonderful place to work, and when I've spent too much time in my office and I'm getting sort of frustrated over something, it's like, oh yeah, wait, look out the window. Oh, go for a walk. It's like, yeah, that's
look
right.
Look where we are.
Yeah.
Right.
And of course, every time anybody comes to visit me from out of town, it's like, oh, hey, let me take you to my workplace.
Not a bad place. If you got to work, this is a great place to be in, isn't it?
It is a beautiful place to work.
But it's more than the Arboretum. There's a lot going on here. Tell us some of the things that happen.
So we have lots of workshops for the public. So there'll be workshops on growing plants and pruning plants. We have full moon hikes, quite regularly led by our outreach director, Steve Carroll. We have education programs going on. So K through 12 education programs. About 5,000 school kids a year come out here in programs led by our education director, Candace Lutzow-Felling. There are workshops for teachers. Here there's a community garden. So we actually draw from the outlying surrounding communities for people that want to come out here and do their gardening right here. So there's lots of sort of public activities and public involvement in the things going on here.
And you guys have two big events throughout the year. Tell us a little bit about those.
So the biggest events are our garden fair, Mother's Day weekend. So it's a big plant sale. Lots of plant vendors, and at Mother's Day is when everybody's either thinking about planting for the first time and sees all the plants that they can go and put in, or the hardcore sort of gardeners who realize, oh yeah, I forgot to start my seedlings this year. Let me go to the plant sale and get them. So we've got lots of people coming out for Mother's Day weekend, and there are also children's activities then. And then we have a similar activity, but a bit smaller, on Columbus Day weekend called Arbor Fest. And that is also a plant sale, but then there are other activities, hay rides, more children's activities that people can participate in at that time of year as well. And then the other popular event here is our holiday workshops, where people do wreath making, learn to do wreath making here, and that's coming up in the end of beginning of December.
Okay. Lots of stuff going on, and lots of stuff for everyone around the state to come take advantage of. It's such a pretty place to visit. I want to talk a little bit about where we are sitting right now. This is a grove of ginkgo trees. Tell us the importance of this grove of trees.
So we are sitting in the middle of about 350 ginkgo trees here that were planted all in the 1930s and 1940s. And they were planted as a research, as a sort of a research grove to study sex ratio in ginkgos. So ginkgo trees are either male or they're female. And it was a pet project of the first, the director here to study sex ratio in ginkgos. And so he had graduate students bring up the seeds from one tree in Charlottesville, Virginia, to start the plantings here. And as innocent sounding as it might be to say, oh, I'll bring up some seeds, the seeds of ginkgos really smell awful. And so getting graduate students to do it, I'm sure, is so that he wouldn't have to do it himself. So they would go and collect the seeds and then bring them here and plant them. And at the time that they were planted, there was many years before we could know the outcome of that planting. And so it really wasn't until after Orland White was long gone from here before the trees were producing fruit. And so and now we can see the results of that, which is that Well, it's not very interesting. So half of them are male and half of them are female, just
Half
like
and
in some
half.
half and half.
It's just how it worked out,
that's
right?
But what we ended up with was this beautiful, beautiful grove here, which is one of the most popular features of the Arboretum. And right now it's almost at peak foliage right here, and this is the most looked forward to event, a natural event in the Arboretum every year. And so when the ginkgos were planted here, it was thought to be the largest ginkgo planting in the world. And now it may still be the largest ginkgo planting for research in the world, but it's just a very popular place to come and walk around.
And the ginkgos are primarily native to China?
Well, they're kind of a funny story. So the ginkgo, there probably are no real wild ginkgos anywhere anymore. So they are known from the fossil record over much of the world, including in North America. But they were thought to be extinct. They were known from the fossil record. Everybody knew about these could recognize the leaf impressions and recognize that these trees used to be everywhere, but nobody knew where they were in the wild. And then they were found in small groves near monasteries in China. And then those were the only known ginkgo trees at the time. And so fruits from those trees or seeds from those trees have then been spread around the world to start the ginkgo groves like you see right here.
It's amazing. And they really are gorgeous trees. And the fruit has a lot of medicinal purposes. The ginkgo biloba we hear about being good for memory and...
Yeah, there are certainly a lot of herbal claims for ginkgos. So that's why part of the reason that there are bigger groves than this now, because there's a lot of medicinal and herbal use.
Sure.
Of the,
and they
of the
harvest
ginkgo
that.
trees.
Now, nothing here is harvested.
So we're not. Yeah, we don't do any harvesting. Harvesting here, we get fruits and things from the arboretum to propagate our plants. So we don't. Yeah, harvest.
But this grove was planted originally as research. So that brings us back to the Blandy Experimental Farm. What are some things, here we are in the ginkgos. What are some other things that you have going on here that you're studying?
So lots of different research projects going on. So we have right now a graduate student who is studying the impact of deer on forest regeneration in Virginia and at Blandy Experimental Farm in particular. So the deer populations are really big, and the deer, basically what's left in the wild are what the deer don't eat because the populations are so big. And so he's looking at the effect of deer. We have another graduate student who's looking at the effect of light pollution on fireflies. So any insects that are dependent on the night sky for their ecology may be affected by artificial light. So we have studying light pollution here as well. We have projects studying health of bee populations, looking at disease in bee populations, also the effects of pesticides on bees. We have a researcher here who studies invasive insects like gypsy moths. So lots of different projects going on. But actually another thing that's going on here related to outcome is we also have a partnership with the American Chestnut Foundation. So they have a couple of research groves that are right here, and they are trying to propagate American chestnut trees that have resistance to the chestnut blight. And so they have 2 plantings here, and at the end of, they do the hybridizations with Chinese chestnut to try to breed resistance in, and then breed them further with the American chestnut to bring American chestnut genes in. But every time they do that, they risk losing resistance to the blight. So then every generation they have to test the trees and see if they still have resistance. And so next year they'll be testing resistance among the trees we have to see which trees will stay in the breeding program. And the eventual goal of that, of course, is to get American chestnut trees planted back in the forest where they were once dominant.
Well, if any of our viewers would like more information on the State Arboretum, where should they go?
First place they should go is right here. I mean, so
just come visit,
yes,
right?
Come and visit. But to get information, you can go online to the Blandy Experimental Farm website. We also use all of the big social media, so Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest and all of those places all have some information on Blandy Experimental Farm and what's going on here.
Well, Ty, thank you so much for having us out on this beautiful day in this gorgeous grove of ginkgo. It's really been enjoyable.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Fall is a good time of the year to concentrate on cleaning up your vegetable garden. Let's learn the process from the ground up with Chris Mullins.
We're at Randolph Farm at Virginia State University, and it's starting to get a little cool outside. You've probably gone through the summer, you've had your great garden, and you're kind of finished up, and you might be a little tired. So it might be time to think about cleaning that area up and getting ready for next spring. Anything you can do now to help yourself out then is going to be a great thing. Now, some of you, though, are still growing crops into the fall, like kale and lettuce and collards and cabbage. Those things do great. But some of you might just be ready to clean that garden area up, get those things done that need to be done, and get ready for next spring. Now, one of the first things you might think about when you're cleaning the garden up and getting ready for the winter is to get all your implements, all your tools and things out of the garden. Things like tomato sticks like this. You get them up, get them out of the way, get them put away so that they'll stay straight and they won't bow on you. Hose, cultivating hose like that, they can move all those inside, maybe oil them up, clean them up, get them out of the weather. Garden hoses, any kind of irrigation material that you've got, you want to get those out of the way, get them drained so nothing will freeze in those, and get them up and into the garage or into the barn. So that's one good thing, to get those things all out of the garden. You know, and also this time of the year is a good time to think about amending your garden. And you can start by doing a soil test and see exactly what you might need into your garden, whether you need some sort of amendment like lime, or maybe if you need some compost. Compost can be a great thing to put on in the fall. You could take an area like this, till it up, get it ready, put your compost down, 2 to 3 inches of compost over the area, your garden area, and then incorporate that in. And that's going to do a lot of things. That's going to increase your drainage later on in the spring. It's going to add organic matter, and it's going to add some fertility to the plants that you're going to grow in the spring. And even if you want to put some cover crops in right now, that's going to help you with that fertility. Well, this is another patch here, and you can see that we've got some peppers growing, we've got some eggplant growing. And I would encourage you, if you've got those things still growing in your garden, you keep those going as long as possible. Get that last pepper off there, get that last eggplant off there. And after you've done that and you clean up your garden like we talked about before, it might be time to try something different. You might be, I've always wanted to put a cover crop down, and this might be the season to do it. We got a nice cover crop growing here. And a cover crop is basically plants that are going to grow on the ground. We don't want to keep the ground bare through the winter time because you'll get a lot of soil erosion. So you want to put something on it. And this cover crop can also, in the springtime, be tilled in. Maybe about 3 to 4 weeks before you plant. This can all be tilled in, and what it'll do is decompose, and it'll add organic matter to the soil, and it might even add some nutrients. So it can be a real nice addition to your garden before you plant in the spring. Some ones that you might try are like hairy vetch and rye, Austrian winter pea, some of those, and there's others that would do very well for you and can help be a good amendment to your garden for the springtime. Well, for more information about cover crops or cleaning your garden up for the winter, contact your local county extension office and talk to your master gardener. For From the Ground Up, I'm Chris Mullins, and we'll see you next time.
Our pearl of wisdom this week comes from an anonymous viewer who says that autumn is kind of like a second spring when every leaf is a flower. Remember, you can catch our show on demand anytime that you want to watch it, even on your smartphone. We currently have more than 100 episodes available at virginiafarming.com. Oh, and before we go, we would like to remind you to consider being a part of the relief effort for farmers in the Southeast who have been devastated by hurricanes and flooding this fall. There are numerous organizations, including farm organizations, who are pitching in to help farm families in need. You can, of course, also provide your support through organizations like the American Red Cross and the United Way. Well, that does it for our show this week. Have a great week, everyone. I'm Jeff Ishii for Virginia Farming. And now for your Ag Trivia question of the week. The answer when we return.
90 years ago, the Virginia Farm Bureau made our local farmers a promise to protect and preserve a way of life they work so hard to establish. We want to keep Virginia, Virginia. Anyone can be a Farm Bureau member, and there's a local Farm Bureau in every county. More information is at vafarmbureau.org.
Virginia soybean farmers are hard at work growing soybeans to produce products you use every day. Candles, soaps, even crayons can be made from soybeans. Remember, when you buy soy, you're helping to support American jobs, the economy, and our nation's energy security.
And now the answer to your Ag Trivia question of the week. D.